Hello everyone and welcome back to Carvinus 14. Now today we are going to be doing another team showcase video for Arlecchino. Now, ever since Arlecchino reran, and well, to be fair, I've been having this idea for Arlecchino in a long while, right? And I wanted to do an overload team for Arlecchino, okay, that is good. Because there isn't really a lot of Electro buffers out there, like units that buff Electro. Units that buff Pyro, sorry. Outside of the Pyro element. And to be fair, this obviously makes sense, right? Chevruse is an excellent unit as well, at C0. But the problem with the Overload teams is that you don't have a good shielder, right? Yes, you've got Toma, but Toma doesn't provide you any offensive support, right? Yes, you've got Jinyan, but who uses Jinyan anymore anyway, right? And you've also got Beidou, but in order for Beidou to get her shield, you need her to be at C1. And she does have damage reduction, but damage reduction is just an inferior way of saying, I give you a shield, kind of, basically. So yeah, now of course, most people do have C1 Beidou, so that's not really an issue, but Beidou's shield isn't necessarily the tankiest, and it kind of scales off HP, which you don't want to build on her in the first place, so there wasn't really a good defensive option. And then, I realized something. With Lanyan's release, an Overload Chevruse team might actually be really strong. Now, I know what you're thinking. How on earth is this going to make any sense? Chevruse doesn't work unless your entire team is made up of Pyro or Electro characters. Well, Pyro and Electro characters, I should say.
Something you wish to report?
That is true. However, it's actually not completely true, and I'm going to tell you guys why. So, let's go to Chevruse. The main thing that makes Chevruse insanely strong is these two right here. I haven't managed to completely build her up, but to be fair, her talent levels don't matter because she's not dealing damage. Yeah. So, these two are the main reasons as to why Chevruse is insanely powerful. Her first Ascension passive states when all party members are either Pyro or Electro, and you have at least one Pyro or one Electro, one Pyro and one Electro character, Chevruse will basically make it so that after she uses her overcharged ball on her elemental skill, she will reduce the resistance of Pyro and Electro on the enemy's hit, right, by 40%. Basically, it's a Viridescent Veneer, except it's only for Pyro and Electro characters, and it's also only for 6 seconds. Now, yeah, it is only for 6 seconds, but to be fair, 6 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but 6 seconds is actually a decently long time. Especially when you're in a team that just specializes in just exploding, effectively. Yeah. Now, this is the constellation that restricts Chevruse, right, to Pyro and Electro teams, right? Pyro and Electro teams exclusively. However, there is something I have to tell you guys. This passive does not require her to give or to be on a Pyro and Electro exclusive team. Okay? What I mean to say is you can play Chevruse on the team I'm playing right now with Lanyan, Chevruse, fischl, and Arlecchino. This passive won't proc, but this passive still will, because the way this works is whenever you gain an overcharged ball, which, if you guys didn't know, how to get an overcharged ball on Chevruse is you need to trigger an overload reaction. As long as you trigger an overload reaction, you are able to get an overcharged ball. So whenever Chevruse obtains an overcharged ball and fires it, with this passive, she will give everyone in the party up to 40% increased attack for every 1000 HP she has. So, if you have 1000 HP, you gain 1% extra attack. If you have 20,000 HP, you get 20% extra attack. And 40,000 HP will translate to the maximum 40% increased attack. Now, this is only exclusive to Pyro and Electro units, so Lanyan won't receive this buff, so her shield won't be tankier. However, this would be a really good shield for someone like sorry, this would be a really, really good damage buff for someone like Arlecchino, Chlorand, Mavwika, Hu Tao, Raiden Shogun, Sino, you know, those types of characters, right? Electro and Pyro characters would be able to use this really well. And all you need to do is proc Overload. You don't need a team specific around Pyro and Electro characters only. You only need one Pyro character and one Electro character to obviously trigger the Overload reaction, right? That's simply how it works, okay? And as for Chevruse's C6, this also has a similar kind of effect, not a similar effect, well, it actually does, to be fair, to her Ascension 4. So after 12 seconds of the healing effect from her elemental skill, because her elemental skill does heal, right, all nearby party members will will basically have an extra additional bit of healing, right, which is about, what was it called? Sorry, 10% extra healing for everyone, sorry. I just lost my train of thought there for a second, so I do apologize. But, yeah. So basically, after everyone, you know, heals, after the healing duration is gone, everyone in the party will heal, so it's team-wide healing. But that's not the important thing here. The important part of the passive is whenever Chevruse heals the active character on the field, right, they will gain a 20% increased Pyro and Electro damage bonus, right? Yeah, and these last for 8 seconds, right? And if you didn't know, this thing does actually stack. Yeah, it stacks up to 3 times, and the stack duration is counted independently. So for the entire duration of, what's it called? Of, Chevruse's healing, you will have basically 12 seconds plus 8. So that's about, well, not really a true 20 seconds. It's more like 14 seconds, give or take. Yeah. About, yeah, 10, yeah, if we account for the downtime for the stacks independently as well. So, yeah, about, I'd say 10 to 14 seconds, or maybe not that much, maybe like 8 to 12 seconds. It'd probably be around there if we're actually thinking about it. Yeah, about 8 to 12 seconds of, you know, a pyro damage and electro damage bonus. Now, of course, once again, that doesn't sound like a long enough time, but Arlecchino deals a lot of damage very quickly. And Arlecchino's rotation, she doesn't want to be auto-attacking on the field constantly. When she gets her Bond of Life low, you want to swap her out. So maximum, she's going to be on the field for at least 10 seconds. So this works insanely, insanely well for her, right? And remember, I know what you're thinking. Arlecchino can't be healed, though. So surely this passive doesn't apply to her, right? Wrong. And I'm going to show you, right? Because this passive, this constellation actually applies on overhealing as well. So even if you're full HP, right, and you overheal, this, this constellation will still apply, right? Which is insane. And the reason that's insane is because Arlecchino can't be healed, right? So even if you do have Arlecchino at 50% HP and she doesn't heal, that's technically not overhealing, right? Well, in our definition, no, it's not considered overhealing. However, for whatever reason in the game, healing on Arlecchino is considered as overheal, right? For whatever reason. And that makes it insanely strong with Chevruse. So Arlecchino effectively can gain Chevruse's buff no matter how high or low her HP is. As long as the healing tick goes through, right, which will happen once every 2 seconds. You just won't see the number on the screen that you gain HP because obviously Arlecchino doesn't heal. But you will gain the HP increase. You will gain the pyro damage bonus increase because the game counts as Arlecchino being healed as overhealing, right? Which is why Chevruse and Arlecchino work insanely well together at C6, right? Yeah. So a lot of people did initially think that Arlecchino and Chevruse would be really bad, well, not really bad, but they just won't work that well because Chevruse's best constellation and her best upgrade, her C6, will do nothing to Arlecchino. But that's not the case, right? I will actually show you guys that it does work, through the showcase against Masanori. But yeah, that is effectively it. So, Yes, guys, what I'm saying is true, okay? This constellation will be inactive, unfortunately, the Pyro-Resistant Shred, but that's not a huge deal. Why? Because we have Viridescent Veneer Lanyan, right? And Viridescent Veneer lasts for 10 seconds, so it's 4 seconds longer than Chevruse's buff anyway. So we're getting a similar amount of Resistance Shred, but for longer. Right? Yeah. The only real drawback to this is you have to swirl the Pyro rather than the Electro, but to be fair, it's honestly not that difficult. It's not as difficult as you would think. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, so I've just gone for, like, just a full HP set, because I want as much HP on her to get the damage bonus through. Yeah, you can actually go for a, Song of the Day's Past set as well, because whenever you, gain healing, right, or you overheal, it will give you, a normal, like, you know, a damage boost on your normal attack bonuses, a bit like Shenhe's Icy Quill stacks, but it's actually not bad, but compared to the attack buff that you're getting, it's not really as strong as you would think. So, yeah, but you could go either route, really. I'm just going full HP to get as much attack from the passive talent as possible. So, yeah. Now, we're using Fischl here. Why? Well, mainly because of two reasons. Number one, she's pretty easy to build because she's been in the game for since the beginning, so everyone will have the materials to bring her up. And number two, she is probably one of the better Electro characters to do Overload on. She is single target, you might think, but Fischl does have a passive that makes it so that, what is it called? If your current active character triggers an Electro-related reaction, the opponent shall be stricken with Thundering Retribution that deals... Yeah, so it's just applying even more Electro. Now, of course, Fischl is single target, but if you use her ultimate, it's really not that bad. And to be fair, spreading Electro is really not that difficult, as you will actually see when you play the game itself. So yeah, now of course you could use other units, right? Like, for example, I do have some Electro units I can show you.
I created another universe and found a pair.
So you've got Raiden Shogun, who you could use with an Overload comp. It's just that she kind of takes away with her burst. Beidou is also not that bad. Lisa, I would say, is good, but the problem is Lisa's burst kind of counteracts how you want to use Overload with her, because it just throws enemies really far away. Keqing is a DPS, so no. Sethos is a DPS, so no. And Kujo-Sara, she's not bad either, but she's just very, very clunky to play, especially on mobile. And even with her C2, I still am not a huge fan of using her, right? So I'm just sticking with Fischl. So yeah, I'm gonna clear the... Yeah. So yeah, but basically, guys, that's effectively how this team effectively functions, right? Chevruse functioning with her second passive and her C6, Lanyan being there to provide the Viridescent Veneer, and also there with Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayers. Talents is also pretty high. I haven't actually leveled up Chevruse's talents, because you don't actually need to level up Chevruse's talents at all, because her main role is to provide buffs. Right, so her buffs don't scale with anything apart from, yeah, it's just her passive and Constellation. Those are the only two things. They don't scale with anything, so that's why Chevruse is really easy to build as well, because you don't require a lot of resources. Now, Fischl, my Chevruse is also on Black Tassel. So my Fischl is actually on a pretty unorthodox set, and I'm using Tenacity of the Millilith. Simply because of the fact that the 20% increase in attack there is also going to be a thing, right? Yeah, so the 20% increase in attack, and the best part is that it increases the shield strength of everyone on the team. So Lanyan's shield strength will be increased by 30%. Yeah, so this set is actually pretty good to use with this team, specifically because you gain increased attack for Arlecchino, and remember, Lanyan's shield scales off of attack percent as well. Right? So on top of the shield strength increase you're getting on everyone, Lanyan is also receiving more attack. So that means her shield is just even stronger than before. And if you pair that with something like Lanyan's C2, right? And even her C3, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Like, Lanyan's shield should not really be breaking in this scenario. Yeah. But anyway, guys, I am going to go through the rotation as well. What you want to do is you want to start off with Fischl and use Oz. Then then there's two different routes you can go down. You can either go onto Arlecchino and use her elemental skill, and then go onto chevruse to use her elemental skill, and then swap onto Lanyan to do her stuff, and then go back onto Arlecchino, charge attack, and go to town. Or, if you have chevruse's burst up, what you want to do is you want to use fischl's elemental skill, then use chevruse's burst straight away, and then go into her elemental skill because she'll proc overload through her ultimate. Then you can swap onto Lanyan, right? And then you swap onto Arlecchino and go into town. Now, the thing is you do not want to go onto Lanyan before... you don't want to go into Lanyan and then swap onto another character, because you will miss out on the massive buff that Arlecchino, you'll miss out on the 48% increase in attack that you will get, alright? So, yeah. That's why you don't really want to do it. And to be fair, fischl can also be replaced with someone like Yae Miko. Yae Miko is also an off-field damage dealer, right? And she's also a catalyst unit. So she can use Thrilling Tales the Dragon Slayers if you want a Thrilling Tales the Dragon Slayers unit. But then that would kind of fumble the entire reaction up a little bit more, although not really. Actually, yeah, it would, because then you'd have to use Yae Miko to get the Electro off, and... yeah, it's all a little bit weird, so I don't really recommend that. But if you have Citlali's weapon, you can actually use Citlali's weapon on someone like Yae Miko to actually get the buff, right? To get the buff on, you know, Arlecchino as well, because Citlali's weapon does increase the damage that you deal, and you also have Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers that boosts your attack, so that's just even more buffing power. But then again, that is a 5-star weapon, and most people didn't really pull for the weapon banner, so I wouldn't put it, you know, as your fault for not getting that weapon. But yeah. Anyway, guys, let's go over a practice scenario on the rotation that you'd want to go and how much damage that Arlecchino can actually do. Now, I will say my Arlecchino is very, very high investment, okay? Like, I'm not saying it's slightly high investment. She's very high investment. If you guys saw in my previous video, I do, in fact, have a C6 Arlecchino now, right? So... because of that, my Arlecchino will be hitting damage numbers that are absolutely insane, okay? So, yeah, and her normal... well, I mean, I say insane, but I'm going to be honest, compared to a lot of other C6 Arlecchinos out there, I will not be hitting as hard as you may think. So, yeah. In fact... it got to a point where I've seen so much C6 Arlecchino gameplay that when I C6 my Arlecchino and wasn't hitting for as much damage as them, I was kind of sad that C6 Arlecchino wasn't that great. But then I realized, hold on, it's just my perspective that's skewed, and my Arlecchino is still is ridiculously strong, right? Yeah. So of course, this isn't going to be a nuke showcase or a a tutorial like that, right? But I will go over my Arlecchino's stats now. My base crit rate and crit damage is 770% crit rate with 216% crit damage. Now, we do need to include Arlecchino's C6 as well, so my crit rate in actuality is going to be 80% crit rate with 286% crit damage. However, these only apply to the normal attacks and the burst, which, to be fair, is what I'm going to be doing anyway. So, yeah, my crit rate, guys, is 80%, and my crit damage is 286%. So remember that, right? My attack is 2,791, okay? As for damage bonuses, well, my Arlecchino, as of right now, has 0% in everything. But of course, we will have her weapon passive, okay? Because her weapon will give me about, yeah, her weapon will give me a certain amount. Yeah, damage bonus, a certain amount, 36%. Then there's her passive talent here, which is 40% pyro damage bonus, right? So, yeah, there's that. But then, if we think about it, the number that we're actually looking for chevruse is going to be 100%. Because the 40 plus the 60, that is 100%. So we'll look for the 100% so I can show you guys what I actually mean when I'm talking when I'm talking about it. So, yeah. Now, of course... the attack percent increase is going to be kind of difficult to gauge as well, but we'll have to see if this really does work. Once I trigger the overload reaction, right, we'll come back and check to see the attack, okay? So 2,791, all right? Yeah. And in terms of attack, with my chevruse, I should probably show you guys. My chevruse has 37,000 HP. HP. So about 37% increase in attack, right? I won't do the math, but if it's around 37%, then we know where it's coming from, right? Yeah. Of course, there is also Fischl's Tenacity of the Millilith that we have to look for. I hate that bit. So yeah. Let us hope and pray that everything works out in order. But this, in my opinion, is probably one of the best free-to-play teams that you can actually have, if you have Chevruse and Lanyan, of course. Now, to be fair, my Chevruse and my Lanyan are very high investment, with both of them being at C6. So you could definitely do this build at C0 Chevruse and Lanyan, but the damage won't be as insane, but it's still going to be ridiculously good. So, yeah. Now, I'm going to try and talk through this to you guys as well. Alright, so first we're going to go with Fischl, then Elemental Skill here, then this, then... Okay. Okay, well, before we do that, actually, we're going to go and look here. Yeah, see, 3,379. That's Chevruse's own attack coming into play, and paired with this as well. So, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Alright?
Dancing in the wind.
Alright, so now, after waiting, can we see how much damage bonus? Yeah, you see here, we're at 80%. That means we have 2 stacks of Chevruse's, buff. Okay, so wait like 1 or 2 more seconds and we will be at 100%. Okay, and as for my attack here, 3,663. Okay, 3,663 attack with how much resistances? 40% resistance to everything, because remember, your C2 also gives you resistances after you obtain a blood debt due, right? So yeah, and you guys saw the auto damages, right? It was over 100, it was like 110,000. Yeah, so it's pretty insane. Okay, it's pretty insane.
Shadow Raven, let night fall. You asked for it. Up and away. Transfixed.
Okay, I don't know if you guys saw at the very end there. That was 193,000, right? It was kind of unfortunate that I didn't actually crit, but 193,000. Okay, 193,000. Yeah, 193,000 for an auto. All right. Now I don't know about you, but that, in my opinion, is pretty damn insane. Yeah, and to be fair, of course, energy-wise, this Chevruse is a little bit lacking when it does come to energy, because, you know, you are going full on into HP with this build to get as much attack from her as possible. But honestly, I haven't really had as much energy issues as I really thought. I mean, my Chevruse's energy is about 127, right? But because Overload generally just gets you a lot of particles in the first place, and Fischl is an excellent battery unit, and also Arlecchino giving so many pyro particles, right? Lanyan's particle generation isn't that bad either. You don't really run into as many energy issues, and also Lanyan's burst is back up. And I have 160% energy recharge on her. So it's not an insane amount, but it's not actually that bad either, right? Yeah, it's not really that bad. Also, wait, what artifact am I running on her? I'm running full attack percent. Yeah, you guys can see I'm running full attack percent. So, honestly, it's it's really not that bad, to be fair, the damage that you deal with this team. Like, you deal an insane amount of damage with this team. Now, of course, I can't really say much because my Arlecchino is C6, so of course, my numbers are a lot higher than you would think, right? But the thing is that you can deal so much damage with this team. In fact, I would, personally, I would actually tell you guys, please try this team out and see if you like it, because I really like it. And I also think I did screw over the swirl a little bit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did actually screw over the swirl a little bit. So swirling with, what's it called? Pyro is definitely going to be an issue, right? But I'll see if I can actually get a better Pyro swirl this time. Yeah. I'll see if I can get a better Pyro swirl here.
By royalty...
Overruled.
Stop right there! Closing in.
There we go, there's the Pyro swirl. Oh my lord. Does everyone see that? Did everyone see that? Yeah, I screwed up the swirl. I screwed up the swirl because earlier on, I was doing 110,000. And now, I'm doing 180,000 per normal attack, scaling down to 160,000. Yeah, so, it's pretty insane, okay? That is pretty insane. I mean, you guys saw the jump from 110 to 180,000 at the beginning, right? Yeah, so it's kind of ridiculous. It is kind of ridiculous, this build. Now, of course, I will say this once again, okay? I do not want you guys to play this build and see your damage numbers lower, a lot lower than what you can see on the screen right in front of you. Because remember, my Arlecchino is very high investment, okay? I have, well, 70% and 260% as a baseline, but remember, my Arlecchino is C6, okay? So in reality, I actually have 80% and 286% crit damage, okay? My attack is also ridiculously high with 2,700 attack, which most people won't actually get because this is the artifact setup I'm going with, okay? Now, this is my feather, pretty decent feather. Sorry, my flower, sorry. That was my flower. This is my feather, which is also pretty, decent. Pretty good. My, what is it? My timepiece, which is, in my opinion, the worst piece out of all of them because I don't have crit rate on it, but it's still a really good, you know, timepiece. This is my goblet, and I'm running an attack percent goblet, which is very important here. I could run a pyro damage bonus goblet, but for this team specifically, pyro damage bonus would be way too much. I'd have so much pyro damage bonus that the pyro damage bonus I'm getting from other sources would not amount to as much, right? So it wouldn't be a good return on investment. It'd be diminishing returns, right? So that's why I've gone for an attack percent goblet, and my attack percent goblets in general are just better than my pyro damage bonus goblets. So yeah, an attack percent goblet is a lot more competitive on Arlecchino simply because you've got her resistance passive, which is tied to her attack percent as well, right? So this is a lot more what's it called, competitive than pyro damage bonus in my opinion. In fact, attack percent is, you know, just is better in my opinion, simply because of the fact that it does more. It gives you damage and also tankiness, right? Whereas pyro damage bonus doesn't do that. It gives you more, it does give you more damage, but you don't have the utility of tankiness, right? So, yeah. And of course, there's also the helmet, which is also really good. I mean, obviously, getting a crit rate substat on a crit rate helmet is not going to happen, so I'm happy with this piece as well. So yeah, and also I do need to say another thing, my talents are triple crown. I'm triple crowned. I have level 13 normal attacks with these scalings, level 10 elemental skill with these scalings, and level 13 burst. Okay, yeah. Now, because Arlecchino C6 does increase the damage that your burst does as well by a lot, we'll also do a run with her burst. So, yeah, well, not a run with her burst, but a run showing you how the burst would work. So, yeah. The amount of damage I can do with the burst.
What's one more?
Odds reveal! Hands where I can see them! Drop your weapons!
I'm ready!
Welcome, Fly.
This is where you fall.
No, he blocked it! Oh, you stupid little...
Transfixed.
This will do!
Up and away! Swift as the swallow.
Could you please just transform? I want to end you as quickly as possible. My physical attacks are more than enough. Yeah, okay, so that damage would have been insanely high, guys. I'm telling you, but unfortunately, Masanori being the little we're gonna keep this kid friendly, but the little silly man that just decided to block my unbelievable. But we'll go again. We'll go again. We have basically everything.
By royal justice will prevail. Final warning.
Laid bare.
Butterfly.
Everlasting as the moon.
Okay, that was 112,000, but I didn't crit.
Transfixed.
Cut down.
Yeah, 112,000, but I didn't crit. So we're gonna go again. Again, I'm gonna show you guys the power of C6 Arlecchino. Well, at least with this team set up anyway.
On for...
Oh.
Drop your weapons. Stand down. Hands where I can see.
As you wish, main Fräulein. This will
Closing
end
in.
you.
Ills be gone.
This is where you fall.
400,000. 400,000. You guys saw that? And to be fair, that wasn't even an optimal setup, because I did kind of ruin the setup initially, but it was still there. Now, I will tell you guys this. On Masanori, I have managed to hit 500,000 at sometimes, right? But the way C6 Arlecchino works is it does more damage the more bond of life you have, right? So I don't think I was at maximum bond of life there. So that's kind of one thing that you need to keep in mind. If I was at maximum bond of life, though, then maybe it would have been different. But we're not doing ifs, buts, and maybes. We're going to do absolutes, right? We're going to do absolutes. So here we go. Once again.
Laid bare.
Stop right there. Up and away.
Witness my rise.
Okay, that was 397,000.
Overruled.
Okay, I must have been hallucinating when I saw 500,000 or something, but I'm pretty sure I did see 500,000 at one point, but maybe that was against a different enemy and I'm just misremembering it. Yeah, but against other enemies, I have managed to hit 500,000 before, guys. So, yeah. This is just against Masanori, meaning Masanori's resistances are still pretty damn high to not be able to let me hit 500,000. But still, for a burst or for an ultimate to hit that high is insane. Of course, it doesn't really matter anymore because Mavwika exists now. But it's still pretty damn good. I also do need to remember that she is C6. So once again, your burst will definitely not hit as hard as mine until you get C6. But basically, guys, what I'm trying to say is, this team is insane. You guys saw from my autos and how much of an upgrade that, you know, how much of an upgrade it really is. Because if you guys have, well, to be fair, that's not really fair to say, but you saw the jump in damage when I incorrectly swirled Electro to when I correctly swirled, Pyro, right? Yeah, so it's genuinely ridiculous how much damage this team actually does. The resistance shred does not matter with Chevruse's passive not being there because you have Lanyan's viridescent veneer, right? You have the viridescent veneer given from Lanyan. You also have the what's it called? The Threading Tales of Dragon Slayers buff. And remember, guys, you saw that my Lanyan shield didn't really break that much. I mean, maybe there were some kerfuffles when I screwed over the rotation a little bit and when Masanori did block my ultimate initially, but you saw there that Lanyan's shield was able to take so much damage, right? Yeah. Now, I've already gone over Lanyan's shield and shielding capabilities, especially with Arlecchino in a previous video, so do check that one out below if you guys do want to see that. But what I'm trying to say, guys, is this team is genuinely perfect. You have everything. Damage, buffing, debuffing, tankiness, and that's effectively it. Chevruse providing the attack buff and her C6 buff, right? Well, in your case, it'll just be the attack buff. Fischl providing Tenacity of the Millilith's buff to not just Arlecchino's damage, but the shield strength as well for Lanyan, right? And then Lanyan providing the elemental resistance shred and also the attack buff as well. So if you think about it, this team, at least my version of this team, 37% from 37% attack from Chevruse plus 48. So that's basically, well, 40 plus 50 is 90, but you have to minus 5. So that's 85% basically. 85% increased in attack, right? Which, to be fair, is kind of accurate, because remember, my attack was 2,700, and I went up to 3,500, or 3,000, I think it was 3,500, yeah. That's how much I went up to, which 100%, okay, or, yeah, basically, yeah, that is actually pretty accurate. So there is that. I mean, of course, there is dilutions and stuff like that to keep the game balanced, but it's still like that, right? Then you're also getting 20%, so it's actually, yeah, it's actually around 105% realistically in attack. Yeah, but you're still getting a very nice amount. You're getting 60%, so yeah, 105% increased attack, 30% increased shield strength, 60% increased pyro damage, 40% reduced pyro resistance to the enemies. That is so many things that you are receiving. So, genuinely, guys, if you have these characters, even at C0, honestly, Fischl can be C0, Arlecchino can be C0, Chevruse C0, Lanyan C0, trust me, this team genuinely would be really, really good to try out. Whether it's better than your current team, I don't know. But this is actually a very free-to-play friendly team, and the best part is that Arlecchino, Chevruse, and Lanyan are all on the banner together right now. So, this is the best chance for you guys to try out this team if you're still unsure on pulling for Arlecchino. This is a very, very fun team in my opinion, because not only is it explosive, quite literally, but it's also very powerful in single target damage and AoE damage, and you have so much protection, right? So this is literally the most perfect all-in-one team. It's cheap. It's cheap. It's very cheap in the fact that most of the characters are 4 stars, right? And you only need Arlecchino as the 5-star, right? Chevruse is very low investment. Fischl can also be quite low investment, and Lanyan also just needs Viridescent Veneer, a lot of attack percent, which is pretty easy to get, and Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer. So this team is and Arlecchino is one of the best 5-star units in the game for her cheap investment. Gladiator's Finale is perfectly fine on her, and White Tassel is her best free-to-play weapon, which is a 3-star weapon, right? So this is literally the most free-to-play friendly offensive team in the game, right? Yeah, Favonius Warbow on Fischl is really easy to get. The Black Tassel that Chevruse uses is also easy to get, and Lanyan's Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayers is really easy to get. Viridescent Veneer, you just need attack percent for Lanyan. Fischl, you just need, well, energy recharge and build her how you normally would, but Tenacity of the Millilith, effectively, which is an old set that's been in the game for so long, so you've got strong boxes, and the enemies are pretty easy to deal with now. And then for Chevruse, you got 2-piece HP percent, or Song of Days Past, whichever one you go for. Very simple and easy character to use. Very cheap investment as well. And Arlecchino, obviously. Gladiator's Finale. White Tassel. Talents, you can level them up at your own pace. That is really easy to do. This is genuinely the most free-to-play friendly team I think I've ever cooked up in a long, long time. Not just in the fact that they're 4 stars, and their pull value is really low as well. Well, their pull value is high, but they're really easy to pull as well, because they're 4 stars, right? You also don't need to invest a lot into these characters. You don't. You could literally have them survive off of the bare minimum, and they will still perform. And that's what's so hilarious about this team, genuinely. That is what's so hilarious about this team, because this isn't a team that you need like 5-star weapons and, you know, C6 Arlecchino and stuff like that. This is genuinely a team you could play with 3-star weapons at C0, R1 if you really want to, right? You'll still see a decent amount of damage increases, but obviously since they're 3-star weapons, you will definitely have refinements of them. But this team is so damn easy to play simply because of how easily accessible the character materials, weapons, artifacts are, right? And of course, the only complicated thing about this team is the rotation, right? Remember, you want to use fischl first, then use Arlecchino's thing, then use Chevruse's gun,
Drop your weapon.
then swap back onto Arlecchino to do the charge attack to gain the pyro aura again, swap onto Lanyan, do the shield, that, and then her burst, and then, you know, auto attack, and there you go. Now, of course, this team is kind of complex to really understand, but if you have Chevruse's burst, even better. Alright, if you have Chevruse's burst, even better. Fischl's elemental skill, Chevruse's burst, that procs overload, gun, Arlecchino elemental skill, gain pyro aura, bang, bang, and then burst, whatever, and then just normal attack. Right, yeah. Now, of course, you don't need to over-apply the pyro aura. You saw there that in one of the rotations, I didn't actually add Arlecchino's extended pyro aura. That's because the timing, it really depends on how good you are at the timing.
Staring
if you
into my
let
eyes is
fischl take
ill-advised.
over for too much, she will
promise
apply
you
the
yet
electro
what
aura
you
on
see.
again. Right, so you do need to be careful. So the rotations definitely can be shortened, but it's, once again, rotations aren't something that I can tell you guys on how to do perfectly, because rotations matter on how you wish to play the game, how you enjoy swapping over from different characters, right? So it really does depend, and it comes down to personal preference. So these rotations, they are quite strict, which is one drawback I will say, because there's not a lot of flexibility with this rotation, especially with Lanyan, but you can definitely work on the timings and get used to these things a lot more. And once you do, trust me, these things will become second nature, alright? You just need a little bit of time to practice, and there you go, alright? Don't throw this team out the window just because the rotations are difficult to do. Try it out, and trust me, this is a fun team, right? A very fun team, because any Overload team is fun, because American explosions, right? So, yeah. But anyway, guys, I have been Carvenus14, and still am, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.